I'm just in from Antigua. I was in Antigua last week,
Oh,
Oh,
Antigua is so
nice.
beautiful.
and I'll be in St. Lucia next year. And then a friend
Oh,
of mine is building a thing called Life Co.
oh,
It's like a wellness center in St. Lucia.
wonderful. Oh, that is so good. That's good news.
In fact, I got invited to the opening around August 1st.
Okay.
Yeah. Where in Canada are you?
I'm in, I'm just a little bit east of Toronto.
Ah,
Yeah. Just
Wow.
a little east and north of Toronto, just on the outskirts. Hmm.
All right, well, we should get started, you guys. Can everyone see this lovely image? I hope so. Um, Welcome to a Saturday spirituality group with our guest Yandea. Yandea is a vibrant and multi-talented soul known as a healer, artist, mystic, and activist. But above all, she proudly embraces the title of Mama. With warmth, wisdom, and a nurturing spirit, Yandea brings a unique blend of creativity and spiritual insight to everything she does. Let's welcome Yandea, she has a story to tell and an experience, I believe, that where love plays a very important part. Love and transformation. So, without
Yeah.
further ado, please take it away, Yandea.
Well, greetings again, everyone. It's so nice to be here. I always feel so honored when anybody wants to take the time to listen to any part of my life, any part of the story, right? And I love hearing other people's stories also. I have a very, very firm belief that we are all here to learn from each other and that nothing that happens in our life is ever by chance or it's ever a waste. I think every single thing that happens can be a seed to help someone else grow and evolve. So I'm just so honored that you guys are taking the time to listen to my story. And I'm definitely open to any questions you have. Um, and I hope that something I share today will resonate with you and will help you to live a more fuller life and to continue on your journey of evolution. And so, talking about love, right? I think where will I begin with that? I think that I guess I could share my NDE story, right? Dan, we could start from there. That's a good place. So about last year, January 15th, I was pregnant and I suffered a miscarriage. And that miscarriage had me, that was the reason for my hemorrhaging. And this is where um, I don't like to call it near, every time I say near death, I feel something in my soul, like it's not in agreement, that title near death, right? So I like to say closer to life or closer to source. That's really, what it was. It wasn't closer to death, it was closer to life is how it impacted me. And so basically when I was in the hospital, that's where I suffered the miscarriage and I began hemorrhaging there. And when they discharged me, I went to the washroom and that's where it all began, right? It all began with like not feeling my limbs. Like I wasn't able to feel my feet. I wasn't able to feel my hands. And so I happened to make my way out of the washroom and to my husband who was waiting for me outside the door. And I basically collapsed into his arms. And then that's the last thing I remember, right? Was, falling into him. And he like put me onto a chair that was there and it was still holding me and calling for help. But I wasn't aware of any of that. As soon as I fell into his arms, I went into another realm. And so in this other place that I was, very, it was very dark. It felt like I was underwater, not because I was feeling wet, but when I looked up from wherever I was, I could see like these waves, right? And that's what gave me the feeling like as if I was almost like under a vast ocean and looking up at the moonlight, through the waves. And so my first instinct was just to go towards the light because I could see my husband on the other side, right? And so as I just thought about going towards him, I ended up going towards him. And I could not get through this barrier, this wave barrier, or light wave is a better way to put it. So I kept trying to get to him and I couldn't. I could only really see out of this one place that the light was, but I could sense the entire hospital. I was aware of what was going on in the entire hospital. I knew that there was a doctor and a nurse talking. I knew that the male nurse was aware of what was happening and he left and came running. Like I was aware of all of that. I couldn't see it. I could only see my husband, but I could just know and see with, I guess, my mind's eye is what I'd have to call it, right? Everything else. And so I just kept trying to get to him because I could see him looking at me, but I knew that he wasn't aware that I was looking at him. And so I kept trying to get to him. And eventually I just got so tired. Like, I know that this wasn't the way out. I just got so tired and I just sunk back to the bottom of this, ocean, right? Feeling. And so after that, the next thing was I heard a nurse that was there saying, are you coming back? Are you coming back to us now? I was hearing her voice. And it was just kind of like if someone's waking you up and your eyelids are starting to open, you're seeing the light. It really was like that. It was just like I was waking up. And I came back into my body and they put me on a stretcher and then brought me into a room and did whatever other stuff, just like taking my blood pressure and this thing. And after they released me, like once my blood pressure seemed stable, they released me. And I was told, like, if if this happens again, just put your feet up, put an ice pack on your head. It's like, okay. So I said, I guess this is a regular thing, right? So we went home and I was, on my couch and my husband went into the kitchen to get something. And I just started, like, the bleeding increased so much to the point where I was like, this is not okay. This is not normal at all. And I mean, I won't get into the details, but any woman would know when something is not right. You're like, okay, no, no, not at all. And so I told my husband, like, look at what's happening, right? Like, this can't be, normal. And he agreed and said, let's move you to the bedroom so you could be more comfortable. And I just made like a little movement, like just my head, just slightly. And I could feel all that darkness that I had felt before just coming in on me. And I said to him, it's happening again.
Yandea, can I stop you one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
So at this time you're saying the bleeding was external?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
I was
you.
hemorrhaging. Yeah. I was
Okay, so
hemorrhaging
but at
very
first
bad.
it wasn't when you were like in the hospital. It
No,
was,
I was bleeding. I was bleeding. It started in the hospital. Yeah,
okay.
it started in the hospital. Basically, I guess I could tell you guys at this point, every medical person that I've spoken to has said they should not have released you from that hospital at
Yeah,
all.
I would think so.
Yeah. Everything
Somebody
about the
was
situation
negligent.
was wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. And that's fine. Like if while I'm actually, I really prefer it if while I'm talking, you have questions that you ask it. I like to have like conversation, right? It helps me to make sure that what I'm sharing you understand. So please don't feel, like you're interrupting me. That's perfectly fine. So he decided that he was going to call, a 911 because I was like, this is happening again. And I remember just feeling like my soul, like my spirit was leaving my body. And so I grabbed onto my couch just to ground myself, to hold something, because it literally felt like I was being, like just so swept out of there. And so I held onto my couch just to feel something in my body. And he was calling 911, but I didn't stay here. My spirit still went, right? And so on the other side, the first thing that I can share that I experienced was being in the same darkness. I always explain to people, like, this darkness is not a scary darkness. It's not a darkness that we need to fear. There's nothing to fear. But for some reason, whenever we hear darkness, it's like, oh my gosh, it's a feeling, but I don't know how else to explain it other than is just definitely no fear in this place, right?
Yeah,
It's just like,
it just is.
it just is. You're just,
Yeah.
and you know it, and your soul knows it, right? And so,
And yeah.
yeah, so I was in this place, and the first thing I felt was a presence with me. I didn't see anything. I didn't see any angels, didn't see any light beings. I just felt a presence behind me and with me. And this is the presence that I would say in all my life, I have acknowledged this presence as Most High or God, right? I could feel this presence with me. And immediately I started seeing like these frames of light. They were like slides that came in front of me one by one. Like, you know, you ever seen like a card dealer just dealing cards like this way? It was like that, but it was frames of light. And in each frame had an event, something that was happening with me. So the first one was like my birth, and it kept going up until the present time, right? And I could look at the frame and I knew exactly what was happening. I could, the full memory of the event, you know, was there. And another thing too is that I was so aware of the space that I was in. I felt to myself, oh, I'm here. Like, okay, I know what's going to happen. So at that moment, I remembered already my past lives. I remembered that, oh, this is the place you come after you're done, right? It was just like regular, like you wake up and you go into your washroom. Oh, yeah, this is my washroom where I brush my teeth, I get ready. That is how familiar this place was. Like, this is the place, right? And so I was just calm, waiting. I knew what was going to happen. I knew it was going to be my life review. And I knew the next steps. And so I was waiting for this next step to happen, and it didn't happen. What usually happened after my lives were done didn't happen this time. And so what it feels like in this place is like, okay, your life gets reviewed. Everybody is going to have a different situation because everyone is different. We've come for different reasons, right? We have different things we want to experience and learn. And so what happened to me in my life review, like what my experience in my life review was like, is not necessarily going to be what yours would be like or someone else would be like, because we're doing different things. You know, we're doing different things when we come here. So think of it like, if you could go to school, right? And you have different children in a class. Everyone's at a different level. Even if you're the same age, you're all at a different level. You can have an exam, right? And at the end of the exam, the teacher will talk to each of you separately. She's not necessarily going to go through the same review process like she will with, let's say, a child who came from another country who is not that good at English, let's just say, right? Because we all speak English here. She may take her time explaining things, making sure the child understands. You get what I'm trying to say? Like another child who is very gifted, she may not need to have any of that discussion. She may just need to speak a certain way. So my point is that all of our souls are at different stages of development. And so depending on where we are, we will get exactly what we need to be able to properly understand what we have just experienced so that we could move on, right? So I don't want anyone to hear my story and say, this is exactly what I'm going to experience, because it may not be, and we have to be okay with that. But whatever you experience is going to be perfect for you, okay? So that being said, I knew that for me at this point, this is where everything gets kind of, you know, I like the best word for it is like, I like to use the word weighed. That's the best way it felt like. It was going to be weighed. My life was going to be, you know, weighed, make sure that everything was according to the original plan, right? And so in that space, I knew why I came to Earth. I knew I came to Earth to love. I knew I came to Earth to share love, to help people understand love, to give love, to receive. It was all about love. I knew that. And so when I went through all of everything, and that, like I said, it felt like everything was being weighed, instead of what usually would happen, which is like, there's a discussion and I move on to the next one. Instead, everything just, all these frames just came together, and they just not collided in like a violent way. They just came together and then just disappeared. So I was like, what? I don't recall this is not the step, you know, this is not what I remember happening. And so my soul already knew what had happened there. And I said this in this space, I said, but what about being a vegetarian? Even that counts for something. It's like I fully understood that everything that had, basically, I'll put it this way, my life was great. It's like everything had checked out, but it didn't like count for anything in a sense, because everything I had done that I had done so well was because I was operating in my highest self. Okay. So there was a part of my soul or something very specific to my journey that I had to accomplish. And I didn't accomplish that to its full extent. And so that's why that didn't go along how it would usually go along. And so I was like, but what about being a vegetarian? That has to count for something. I did that. Right. And immediately, remember I told you I felt like this presence with me, but the presence didn't speak as a voice outside of myself. It spoke through me, like in my own consciousness, right? And it just said, well, listen to what you're saying. Like, listen to yourself. And I realized immediately, I didn't have to say, like, what do you mean? Immediately, I realized the very fact that I was saying, doesn't this count for something, showed that my heart in doing it was not perfect, because I did it with the intention. The best way to put it is like, don't I get points for this? Isn't this checking off as virtue here? You know, isn't this a virtuous thing? What do you mean? Like, why isn't it part? I was surprised that being a vegetarian was not part of all that I saw that I did that was good. Do you get what I'm saying? It was like, why wasn't this here? I went all this time without eating, you know, some very tasty food. And why isn't it here? And that was why. And so anyways, immediately I just understood I guess the best way to put it is my lack of true love. Because remember I told you I was aware of what I came to earth for. And I saw my error, you know, in thinking that there was a hierarchy in love, that there was a hierarchy in life. And in that moment, I understood, oh man, I put one life above another life. And life is, you know, like life is. And so why would I think that because I chose one over the other, that it would count, like it would mean anything? Because we're here to understand life and love just across the board, right? And that it's not a hierarchy. So from there, I came back into my body, and my husband was still on the phone. And I was telling him, like, I can't hold on, because I was using the couch to ground myself. And so it was a constant back and forth pulling, you know, back into the other side. And I remember slipping back in again. And when I went back in, I was now in the same place, but something different was happening. This time it was a room full of people, so many people, you know. Then when I had the experience, it didn't make any sense to me, because it was like, how do I know this many people? It was like I could not count the amount of people that I apparently knew. It was so many people in this room with me, and they were like organized in the sense of they were like brighter lights and dimmer lights. And so the people closest to me in the front were my husband and my children, 5 children, and they were closest to me, and they were bright. They were shining so bright. And then it was just like some other bright ones behind them, but to the furthest, as far as my eyes could see, was some that were just dim. So it was like the dimmest and then getting brighter, 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 right? And as I looked at the light that was closest to me, which was my husband, I just walked up to him, not with feet, but I just, you know, like with my desire. I went closer to him, and I was looking at his light. I was looking at his being, and I can see clearly that it's like the light is encoded. So you look at the light and you could know exactly who that person is. Like, I mean, exactly who they are, exactly who they are. There is no variation. There's nothing off in it. It's just exactly who that person is. I looked to the other light. I could see my daughter. I could see them. I could see everybody just by looking at the light. And so when I looked at any other light, I could see clearly it's like their code, they're encoded, right? And so from there, I spent the most time actually in this place, more than anywhere else. I was there for a very long time, walking through the rows of people and understanding about this light. So the more I looked into the light, I could tell the first thing I noticed was, this is light. Then the next thing I realized was, but this is living. This is my husband, right? This is like just staring at him. This is my husband. This is light. This is life. Because everybody else was like, the light is alive is the best way. It's like living light, okay? And then I was realizing about the code. I spent a lot of time looking at the codes. And the conclusion was, this is the truth. This light is encoded and there is no error in it. It's true. This is truth, right? And so I knew that it was spirit, because this is the life. This is what, when we talk about spirit, it's really light. So that was just, I think when I was on earth, I kind of had things separated in my head in a way, like there's light, there's truth, there's love, there's life, there's spirit. But this was showing me that no, everything is light, truth, life, spirit. It is all light. It is all light. Light is it, and there is no separation. And then once I got that, down pat in my, it was almost like I was recalibrating in a sense and remembering. Then I saw this essence, which is the light of everybody. I saw that it was the same thing. It's like, once I understood that that this is what humans are, this is what we are, it went from us to understanding that, but everything is made of this light. I saw the worlds, I saw everything, everything is made of this light. Everything has a code, right? And so, it was just a beautiful remembering is how it felt like this, right? And so anyways, I came back into my body and my husband was still on the phone. And I remember it was kind of funny because I could feel how much time I had left. And I was like, why are you still talking to this person? I'm like, I'm gonna die. Like, this was like, why is this conversation taking so long? Like, do they not understand the urgency here? Like, I cannot hold on anymore. And because I was on the other side, I wasn't aware that someone had already been dispatched. Like, there was a whole bunch of stuff that had happened. But yeah, anyways, so I just always laugh. We actually laugh at that a lot now, now that, everything's good. But so yeah, I just had this feeling at a certain point. I was saying to him, like, babe, I know when I come back, the next time I come back into my body, I know that's it. Like, I cannot hold on anymore. Like it's like I felt like I was holding on by, like, you can't even see, you know what I mean? The skin on my finger. It's like I had nothing left to hold on to this couch. And I said to him, I need to leave a message for the children. And so he got out his phone and his cell phone, and he recorded the message. I left messages for each of the children and obviously speaking to him. And then I said to him, you know what? There is one chance. I said, if you pray on this side, I said, you pray and I'll pray, and then we'll see if it will be accepted and I could come back into my body, right? And so he agreed. And I slipped onto the other side. He prayed, he was praying over here and I was over there. And I think that's the first time that my husband and I ever really prayed together, to tell you the truth. Like, I'm thinking most times he's like, you go ahead, babe, you pray. And then he just leaves it to me. He likes to hear me pray. But that was the first time he was like, he prayed. And I was not there anymore. I went to the other side and I was just standing in the presence of Most High. And there was nothing else. There was just me and the presence. And there was no visible throne of God and all of this stuff, but you could feel it. You can feel it. Whether you see it, I think if certain people see things because they need to see it, and some people just see it with their heart. You know what I mean? Like you could feel it, you could know. And so I was standing there, and I think that is like the most real from everything that I experienced. I think that one sticks with me the most. Most everything is stuck. It's etched in. But I mean, that one I think about it most because it was a feeling of just standing in front of like a mirror of truth, you know? It's like, I know because I see the codes, I know that I could also be read. The same way I saw the light, I know I was standing in front of the mirror who will read my code. And I was asking to go back. I was saying, you know, let me go back and I will fulfill, you know, my mission of, because now that I see the connection between love, light, and all this and that, I can do a better job, right? So let me go back and I could do it. And I knew that I had a feeling of total peace. Like I knew if I got sent back into my body, it was because I could do it. I had total trust. Like I'm asking for something, but if you don't send me back, it's because I won't be able to accomplish it. And if you do send me back, it's because I will be able to accomplish it. And so I just stood there and I could feel, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like I could feel like I was being almost like analyzed, like almost searched. Yes, that's the best word. Like I was being, every part of me was being searched, you know, like I made that request and is it true? Like how it's like, it's almost like God was looking into me to see everything that, yes, would I be able to or no? You know, and the purpose of all of this, you know, is this going to be for the benefit of all, you know, like is this, or is it just a selfish, I don't want to leave earth, you know, type of a thing. And I just stood there knowing that I would be it was a righteous, I don't like the word judgment, a righteous assessment is how I'll put it. And I just stood there allowing, you know, just the presence to search me and to determine if my words were true or not, if my intention was true or not. And next thing I knew, I was back in my body. And I was on the couch and the paramedics, I remember I came back into my body and I said, oh, they're here. And my husband looked out the window and goes, no, they're not. And then they came down the driveway because that thing was still happening. And so they came in and they brought me back to the hospital, and there was a doctor there that was able to see what had happened, because remember, I wasn't assessed before. She assessed me and she was like, and then my bleeding subsided greatly, you know, and I was able to go back home. And I had to like get a lot of iron. I had lost over 40% of my blood at that time. So yeah, I had to get a lot of iron and so on. And then I was okay. I came back home the next day, and the next 2 weeks was a lot of what I would call like recalibration, you know, trying to integrate back into my body, because it's like I was still floaty, you know, my spirit was still in and out, but not going back to the other side, just kind of, you know, around. And it felt, people always want to know, like, what did it feel like coming back into your body? And it wasn't a good feeling at all. You know, I had not second, I don't want to put it that way. Like, I didn't want to like reverse what I asked, but I definitely was like, man, you know, I was not aware of how terrible this atmosphere was when I was over there. It's like I had forgotten, you know, this process of coming back this way. And it just felt so thick. It's like, imagine you're swimming on the other side. It's like you're swimming in the most crystal clear lake. And then all of a sudden you go into a place and it's just muck, like thick tar. That's how it felt coming back into the realm. I was just in crystal clear water. And then it was like I just plunged into this thickness, it was not nice at all. And going through it to get back, you know, grounded back into my body, it was like I could literally feel all the knowledge that I had being in the spirit realm, because there's a lot of things that were obviously shown, right? But all of that knowledge, I could literally feel the thickness of this realm, like dimming it, you know, it was like it was coating it so that it's still there, but it's so buried under the muck. You get what I'm saying? So while I was coming in, I was certain things I knew I wanted to remember on this side. I was almost like repeating them to myself, like repeating, like when you have a dream and you're like, okay, I'm waking up now. I don't want to forget this. And you keep like saying that thing to yourself. You're like, at least let me get to my journal. Let me write it down because I don't want to forget. It literally was that feeling of, okay, I'm coming back. But instead of a feeling of I'm waking up, like when you have a dream and you're going to wake up, it was like a feeling of I'm falling back into sleep. Do you get it? But I want to stay awake. I know I'm going into the sleep realm, this heaviness, but I need to stay awake when I get on that other side. So I'm doing everything that I could to just keep that memory, keep those memories, the revelations, the understanding of what I got over there, so that when I come on this side, I'm not back asleep, like forgetting what is. And so that was a process of like 2 weeks, in and out. I didn't want to settle into my body until I had all of, what I needed to remember to be here. And it was rough. I didn't want anything to do with social media. I didn't want to hear anybody's voice that like the distinction between truth and lie was so clear. Like someone would be talking to you, I'm like, okay, just stop. Like, it was just so like unbearable. It's like, I do not want to stand in this conversation because I'm very well aware of the energy, right? Of what's happening here. And it was like, I just don't want to participate. I don't want to feel that. It's not necessary. We could just be truthful,
Yeah, not to interrupt you, Yandea.
Yes, go ahead.
But one of the things that I just recently heard, which I think is really very, very much confirms what you're saying, is we are all in this physical world energy and light.
Yes.
But we don't experience it as such.
Yes.
But the other side is all energy and light. And so going from energy and light to this compression of energy and light must be that mud that you're talking about.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's also the feeling of the awareness of the distortion. Like, it's like, let's say I have the understanding of what love is. While I'm entering in, I could literally see and feel all the ways that understanding has been corrupted. I could literally see all the twists, the turns, the doctrines, the this, like you're literally going through everything that has distorted that understanding. And it's a lot, it's a lot to take in, but it really is all about love. It really is. Like, everybody is gonna leave. And I always tell people, you're gonna leave here and guess what? You're gonna be asked 2 questions. How did you give love? And how did you receive love? That's it. It may come in a different form, maybe more specific to why you came, but that is the primary thing. It's all gonna be about, how did you give love? How did you receive love? That's it. Did you give love? Did you receive love? It's not going to be about, nobody cares. On the other side, it doesn't matter if you're a millionaire, if you're beautiful, if you're this, none of this matters. Nothing, nobody. It is like, oh, nothing, zero. We put way too much attention on these things. Be wealthy in order to assist others, in order to make the earth a better place. If you're doing it with these things in mind, it's amazing. It's a holy act. It's a great thing. Pursue wealth with all your heart and your soul in order to help other people have more full lives. Then that's sacred. You know what I mean? But anything else is a distortion. And it's like that for everything. You're going to dance, you're going to sing, you're going to paint, you're going to be a mechanic, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a mother, you're going to be a father, you're going to be a CEO. It doesn't matter. Anything that we choose to do, it has to come from that place of, is this making me a person who can give more love and who can receive more love? That's it. It always is going to come down to that.
Yandea, what is,
yes.
Tell us, what is love? What is love on that side, on this side? What is love, and how can we manifest this love?
Well, there's a saying that it's actually, I think it's in the scriptures, that says God is love. God is love. And I know that some people don't believe in God. Some people do believe in God. It actually doesn't really matter, because in the sense, like, whether you believe in God here, you will get to a place where you understand what God is, because we have understandings of what God is, teachings. And like I said, everything has been distorted. Every single thing. There's nothing that's here that's not distorted. Everything has been distorted. So I don't really, when I say God is love, I would say, when you think of, and that's why sometimes I use the word Most High, because everybody has a different understanding of what God is. But I feel like if I say Most High, it kind of rings a little bit different if you stop and you just meditate on what I'm saying. Most High. The consciousness that is the most ancient, the consciousness that is the primal, the first. You know what I mean? Most High. The consciousness that is above all else, because it knows and understands all, right? And so when I say God or Most High, that's what I'm referring to. The creator, however you want to put it, right? The source of all things. God is love. And so sometimes when we talk about what love is and what God is, we have an idea of what love is, and then we try to fit God into the idea of what love is. You see what I'm saying? We have an idea. We have all had our different childhoods and so on. And then we say, well, my childhood taught me this and that about love. And so we have our own ideas. Everybody here has a different idea about love. And because we haven't processed things like, pain and hurts and all of these things, we have feelings of unworthiness and all of this stuff. That's all wrapped up in there too, right? So then we try to fit God into that. So if we haven't processed different things like pain and trauma and all of that, then we say, well, love is, okay, for example, you might say, because I say love is life, someone might say, oh, then love is not death, but that's not what I said. Do you get what I'm saying? Okay, so we have to understand God is love. So if God is the source of all, and everything created has been created from God, then love is that all. And it's hard for us to understand, but how could love be pain? How could love be sorrow? How could love be all these things that we say that it's not? And were you saying something, Dan?
Yeah, can you tell us, like, what is it supposed to feel like, Yandea?
Yeah, but love is beyond a feeling. See, we get stuck at the emotions. We get stuck at the emotions of it. Love is beyond a feeling. If I tell you that tree is love, you won't, you see, you don't get it there. If the tree is love, how is the tree love? I don't feel anything. You're sticking there because we've been taught that love is an emotion. Love is way more than emotion. Love is the essence of all things. Love is what everything that we are existing, whether you believe in a holographic universe, doesn't matter what you believe in, that is it. Love is the essence of these things. And so we have a hard time understanding, well, how could this thing happening to me, how could this be love? And so because we don't understand contrast, because we don't understand darkness, because we don't understand pain, we say love is none of those things. Love is only the feel good, the fuzzy things. Love is only laughter and joy, and love is only that. And because love is that, then God is that. So it's a backwards thing that we've done. It's the distortion, it's the turning. We have to understand what God is. God is. That is it. God is. That's it. God is. And whatever God is, that is what love is. So love is a lot bigger than we've ever been taught. And we've made God a lot smaller. Do you see what we've done? We've made love so small and we fit God into the small image or idea of love instead of understanding how vast God is and fit the understanding of love into the understanding of what God is. So to tell you, like, I could say love is not only a feeling. And sometimes we feel things. I'll give you an example. Sometimes, okay, I had a client recently who was going through some stuff. And I said, yeah, it's all love. And how is that love? And I'm like, well, without going into her story, I said, love presses in on us all the time. We are surrounded by love. Love is like the air that we're breathing. You understand? And so when the purpose of your soul is to come here and to understand giving love, receiving love, it is life, right? So you're here and you're thinking, okay, the first part is love God, right? Love God. Why? Because you are God. That is it, right? When I say you are God is because that light is like everything living is living in that light. That light is God. So you are not apart from it. You cannot be apart from it because the very reason you have life is because you have God. That eternal light, that first light that exists, that created all things from its own self, from its own light. You understand? So that is when I say we are God, is because what essence do you have apart from the first essence? You don't have it. There is no essence. You cannot live outside. There is no life outside of God because God is life. You see what I'm saying? So we all exist in God and live through God, and we are all love because it is the love, which is what the light is what has caused the expansion of the light, which has us here experiencing individuality, experiencing all the things that we experiencing love and life. Okay. And so back to the little example I wanted to give. So say a person says they've gone through their childhood trauma. Let's say they were poor, very, very poor, and they suffered. And their idea is, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to have a mansion. I'm going to be all of this and whatever. And people are going to respect me and love me. And so they go toiling through their whole life. And along the way, because that desire is so deep, they maybe cheat a little bit. They maybe oppress people a little bit, to get that thing, because they need to get there in order to feel that feeling of self-worth and to be different, So they do all this stuff and then they get there, and then let's say they become a millionaire, right? And then all of a sudden love steps in and love rips all that away. And someone would say, how is that love? Love is causing that person to go back to suffering. Love is causing that. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yes, love is. Love is because love is truth. And love knows the truth that your worth is not in the things. So love is going to do everything possible to bring you to the knowledge of your own self, that you are love and that you are worthy, that you are the essence of all things. So love will always try to correct the distortion because love is truth. So truth will always find a way to win. Truth will always prevail.
All right,
You get what I'm
Yandea, we
saying?
have some
Yes.
questions and comments from our
Okay.
folks here. Now, it looks like both Tiffany's have their hands raised. So let's do Tiffany without the last name. You go first.
Okay.
Let me take my hand down there, right there. Hold on. Where's her picture? I see your picture, Dan. I don't want to see your picture. I want to see
What?
picture yourself. I want to talk to Yandea.
We see your picture. Go ahead, Tiffany.
There she is.
Hi,
Okay.
Tiffany.
Hi. Oh my God. It's so funny because like I was talking to my friend about how language can get us caught up in semantics and all of that kind of stuff,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I want to thank you and the force of life for giving you the clearest possible language in human reality to express this thing, you know. But I also like that you really use that word knowing a lot, because we'll use language to hide from what we know so that we can keep whatever it is that we want to keep.
Yes.
You know, so we can keep that $1 million.
Yes.
You know, and so we'll throw a whole lot of words in there to try, you know. But it's like, no, you already know what you did to get that million. So go, just go into your knowing and accept that it got snatched.
That's it.
You know?
Yes. Yes.
And so I just really, really acknowledge that. And I thank you. I like that, because I was like, what's the word when you say you walked to your husband, but with your desire? That just explains. I thank you for helping me with language today. And I'm also thanking myself for accepting that I may never be able to speak this as clearly as you. But I thank you. And I hope you continue speaking this as clearly as you do.
Your words go deep, sister. They do. They absolutely do. There's a lot of things that I don't share. I want to share it, but I don't, because you could imagine, after understanding how easily words can be twisted, there are certain things that are so precious that I'm waiting for a time where I could just be telepathic.
Because that's it.
And just be like, do you want to receive it? And then just like touch somebody, or just like send the thought, because the words just do not, it's like the language in itself is not pure. And so it is, how do you speak something that is so crystal clear with words that are designed to confuse, with words that are designed to divide? How do you do it? Do you understand what I mean? So, you know, more than anything else, I'll tell you, love is the highest vibration. So more than my words, I always depend that something, maybe a tone in my voice, maybe the energy that I give off, maybe something in my presence will communicate to the people who are listening, because I know I cannot depend on the words. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So
we have also Tiffany Jordan. Tiffany Jordan, go ahead, Tiffany Jordan.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much, Yandea, I'm sorry.
it's okay.
For articulating so well the other side and talking about love being God. And I just want to add what Dan was asking about the feeling of what is love. Like you said earlier, you said it was peace. You didn't say what love was peace then, but you were talking about peace earlier. And I feel like love is peace because God is peace. So I just wanted to add that to that.
Yeah, love is peace with yourself. Now, the thing about it is that sometimes we fight peace. You know, you have to be a peacemaker before you can experience peace. And sometimes in order to make peace in yourself, you have to go through trials, tribulations, dark stuff. You understand? And so when we are choosing to be blind to the things that we have experienced, the beliefs that we're holding on to that are no longer serving us, when we are choosing to be like that, we can have an illusion of peace. See, peace is not pretending like what happened didn't happen. Peace is facing what happened, and now I need to understand it. And I need to really get, why did love allow for me to experience?
It's connected with truth and freedom.
Exactly. That's it. So you have to be willing to let love cut away all the falseness in your life so that you could have true peace. And that process doesn't always feel peaceful. It could feel like torment. Do Do you see what I'm saying? So that's why when we say like love is peace, someone could think, I'm going through this terrible, tormenting time right now. How could this be love? But it is love, because it's ripping away the falsehood around your life to bring you to that place of truth and peace. Like love is the whole
Exactly.
journey. Love is the whole journey, not just the end. It's the beginning, the initiation of it. It's the whole process, whatever that process is for you, and it's the end. It's the whole entire thing.
Yes.
All right. Harvey has his hand raised.
Hi,
Yeah,
Harvey.
Tiffany and Yandea, both, you bring up a really good, important point, which is our language is very, very complex and very much distorts reality.
Yes.
But there's one word that I like to use to describe love that you haven't used yet, but I'd like to have you think about it. And that is, love is unconditional.
Yes.
Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? That there's no condition. There's absolutely no condition. Not that there might be some condition, or there might be some little loophole that I can work out. No, love is unconditional.
That's right.
And in saying that, you're suggesting that anything that is called love that has a condition attached to it is a lie, is a distortion of reality.
Yes, that is it. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Thank you so much, Harvey, for sharing that. That unconditionalness is the part that we struggle with when we try to understand God. It's wrapped up in there. It's wrapped up in the, the limitations, which are making conditions, right? Yeah. Well, God would do that, but not that. Right? God will allow that, but not that. That's the conditions we do. Love would be this, but not that. Right? It's the same thing. But you said it so perfectly. Thank you.
Now, Emmeline, I'm going to hand it over to you. I'm going to take a step back, Emmeline, okay? Go ahead, Emmeline.
Amazing.
Emily.
Hello, lovely to meet you. I wish I could bombard you with questions, but I'm going to try and refrain myself to let other people speak. It's beyond inspiring, because I think the first thing that really sort of hits you is, when you were talking about it with Tiffany, the failure of words. And so what remains, what transpires in the process of knowing that you're in the midst of constant failure by putting words and still attempting, and knowing the failure and still attempting. Yeah. And in that wonderful flux of confusion, what remains is the underlying oneness, the isness. And that is what I sensed the entire way through. Beyond, above, throughout the words is an undercurrent of pure intention.
That's right.
And the vibration and the non-three-dimensional aspects that is obviously transcendent of this.
Exactly.
And therefore, we can't understand what is not 3D, but there is something, there is like a seed of it hidden behind the impulse of each word.
That's right.
And so that really, really hit me. I've got one and a half question. First of all, and I think I absolutely do not want to bring you back to myself, because this is about you. But one of the reasons why it moved me so much is because I recently, on a tiny, tiny fragmented level, experienced something. I went on a meditation retreat, and I had a very specific moment where, without getting into too many, just body melted, couldn't feel anything, was pure light. And I realized in the same split second, oh, I'm nothing.
Yes.
And therefore I'm everything. There's no I,
right.
There's no me, there's no mine. This is the line, right? And so
How long was that retreat?
It's a specific meditation technique, Chaplain James, called Vipassana, and we meditated for 12 hours a day for 11 days.
Wow.
It's bound to stir up some things, and I bet it would. Yeah. And pain was there and agony was there and it was love throughout. But anyway, all of that to sort of set the ground for my question. The last thing you want to do when you dip your feet into the river of change is to cling to anything because you trust that it can't ever go away. It's too strong to, right? That being said, I'm very interested and intrigued to know now it's what, a year and a half on, something like that?
It's, yeah, so January would be, yeah, January 15th and 16th, because it happened on 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the 1 year anniversary.
Okay. So how has it been for you now, a year plus on? How are you navigating the present moment, your daily life, people, the truth that you've sort of probably alchemized into action, into doing? Because obviously when you're in pure being mode, how do you transform that into action, into doing, into creating on a tangible level here? How has it been for you, a year and a half, a year and a bit onwards? How have you managed to create techniques for yourself to stay there? I'd love to just hear about
what's been going on since.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, after that experience, things were weird, right? Like I was already doing healing work and stuff before. I come from a lineage of healers, right? And so I was already I've been having out-of-body experiences, going outside. I'm not unfamiliar with the spiritual realm, okay? So when I had this experience, what it did was, remember I told you when I had the life review, it was like, yep, check, right? And so what it did was it fine-tuned me in a sense I came back and I'm doing everything I did, but now with a knowing and a clarity that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that I didn't get a whole bunch of questions, for my own self. Like while I was, let's say like I'm working with a client and now I'm seeing things a bit differently. How do I like this new me in a sense, right? How do I operate in this system? Because, for example, one of the things that were very clear is that I always knew it, but now I knew it in a different level. It's like everything I knew it, but not like I know it now. And so, for example, like a client would come to me and I realized like all of these different modalities that I have, that I use, they're not really powerful, they're not really powerful. I kind of start seeing like where the actual power is. It's in the actual person, really, only. And so I'm like, well, why am I a healer then? And why am I a healer if I'm actually like, what am I really doing? Like, why does this even work? So I had to go through a whole, like I said, it was like a recalibration, you know what I mean? Of what does this knowing now? How do I implement this in my life, And so, but the thing is, there was a little learning curve, right? Where I had doubt because I'm like, well, I always thought that, let's say I do a lot of energy work. I always thought that it was something that I was, I know I'm called to my whole family, have healers, right? So it's like, okay, but now I'm understanding with so much more clarity. I always knew that, a person has a huge part to play in their healing. But now all of a sudden, it was like a person it is all their part. It is all their part, to play in it. And then what role do I have in it then? Why am I still necessary, in this thing? And so understanding that now made me even better, healer, right? I use the quotation marks, even better at what I did. So let's say, for example, if a person contacted me and they had a certain issue, I would think, oh man, like which one of these modalities would be the best for that person? And I would be listening to whatever they're saying. Now I know it doesn't matter. It absolutely doesn't matter. It literally does not matter. A person could choose anything. It doesn't matter. There's nothing like a wrong choice because at the end of the day, if they are ready for healing, really ready for healing, it doesn't matter what they choose, where they choose to go, what they choose to use. If it's me, another person, they choose to just lay on their bed. It doesn't matter, whatever it is. If they are ready, then the thing that they need to assist them, they will be drawn to that thing. And it literally does not matter. I mean, my grandfather, for example, he was the type of man, like people used to come from all around the place to see him. And so to answer your question, I'm understanding, because my grandfather has transitioned, but I'm understanding how he did things, you know? Because I never got to really, he wasn't there in my adult life when I was, you know, doing this. He was already, he had transitioned. So I never got to have him help me with this as an adult. I only had him guiding me as a child, right? Seeing the giftings and so on. So, but now I understand like how he did what he did. So the thing about healers, the truth, real healers know that they're not healing anybody. They understand that it is all in the person. But what a person who is called to be a healer can do is that they can harness the truth within themselves with such potency that when they speak to somebody, that person can feel the vibration and be able to raise their own vibration to meet that truth. That's how healing happens, right? And my grandfather was like that. He was well known, and he could do something like there was one woman who came to him from, I think it was Venezuela. And my grandmother was telling me about this some time ago. And she was telling me like, yeah, like crazy things he used to do, you know? And so she says, this woman came, she was having whatever medical issues, and went to all these doctors, finally flew to St. Lucia. And he just said, pass me a glass of water. And no, pass me a cup, and pass me 2 cups. So got 1 cup, put water in 1 cup, and then got another cup. And he literally just transferred water from one side to the next side and said, here, drink this. And she drank it, and everything left her. So I, hearing this story from my grandmother, was like, what did he do? What did grandpa say? What did he do? But he held that, and I know it because I know my grandfather. He held such a high frequency that, you know, people who came to him knew it was possible. They had a belief. Now that takes you back to that scripture where Yeshua will say, your faith has made you whole. No, there was the woman with the issue of blood, right? She was bleeding. So funny, I had the same thing. But it's like, your faith has made you whole. It's our faith that makes us complete all the time. It's what you believe. It is what you choose to believe. There's a saying that says, the man who says he can't and the man who says he can, they're both right. If you say that you can't, if you say that you can, both of them are right. And that's the power that we have, being who we are, because we are made of source. We are made of the light. So if you speak something, remember I said code. If you're saying to yourself and you're programming your own light to say, I cannot, then you are programming yourself to cannot. If you say I can, then you are programming yourself to can. It is really that simple. And so if you are doubting that you can and saying I can, it is still cannot, because words are a vibration, and the place that energy plays in it is because energy really is solidifying what you say. Like if I say, you know, thank you very much, do you feel like I mean that? No, it's like, she doesn't mean thank you. It's like, you ever had a person say they're sorry and you know they don't mean it? That's it, you know?
Yandea, can I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I agree with almost everything you say, but the thing about healers or anybody who has any kind of unusual talent is that they are not totally in control of it. It is channeled to them for the needs of the people that the creator chooses. So if someone, and that's to keep us humble. That's to keep us humble.
100%.
If a person says, you're right, if a person says I can and don't really mean it, It's not there. I'll give you an example. Joan of Arc. You know who Joan of Arc was?
Yes, I've heard.
Yeah,
Yes.
she's a French. She's the patron saint of
Yes.
France. She drove England out of France, and she was like 14 years old.
Yes.
And she
Joan
heard,
of Arc is my idol.
yeah, what does she do? She heard voices telling her to go to the king. She had God's power in her. So she led the armies of France against England, and she defeated them. And her power was so impressive to the king. But the king was not a holy man. He didn't have the power. Joan had the power because God chose to give it to her. And then when she finished driving out the English from France, the king said, I want you to go in again. He wanted to use her for his own purposes. This is a great, strategist, military strategist, he's thinking. He's not thinking this is a humble woman from the forest that God sent him to her. Anyway, Joan said, I can't go into battle. God is no longer with me. She knew that she no longer had the power. But the king insisted. She went to battle. She was captured by the English and burned at the stake. So my point is that God chooses when and where the healing should go. And the humility is extremely important. And I don't think people can decide that they want to be healers. They may be something else. People can ask for the gift of healing. They may not get it. And they will feel in their heart if they have it or not. And that's when they say, I can't heal. Or if they feel that they can, truly, genuinely in their heart, that's when they say I can, and that's when you see results. Do you understand what my point is?
Yeah.
It's what do we say this? You
Let me
cannot
ask you a
control the
question.
spirit. The spirit comes and goes as it wills, not as we will.
Well, I think. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you
James.
feel you're a healer?
What?
Do you feel you're a healer?
I've been told at different times I am, but right now, what I'm saying, I think is very hard for people to listen to. So what I'm saying is more of a spiritual direction than a healing, and people can agree with me or not. And there are many people who give prophecies and talk about their truth, and they get in a lot of trouble for it, or people don't like them, and they go through misery, like Jeremiah in the Old Testament, the prophet. He was thrown into a hole constantly. They didn't like him because he never told them good things, and that's how you know a false prophet. A false prophet will tell the king what he wants to hear and tell people what they want to hear, but he is false. And if you look at the Old Testament in the age of prophets before Jesus came, according to the Bible, the Old Testament, there were a lot of false prophets, and the ones that were real were persecuted by the kings and by the people. What do you think, Yandea?
I want to make sure that we understand, because again, we're here and words can be misunderstood.
Of course.
So we're gonna take this.
Lillian Hellman said that words can do a lot of damage, so we have to be careful.
Yes. So I wanna just make sure that we have the most clarity that I can give as far as being responsible for my words, right? Is healing a gift? Yes. I've had the gift of healing ever since I was a little girl. Hence, I gave you the story of my grandfather. It's been something that's in my lineage, right? Now, we speak about things in the capacity that we're able to speak about them based on the knowledge and experience we have. Some knowledge that we have, it comes from outside sources. Some knowledge that we have comes from our inner knowing, our intuitiveness. It comes from even our own experiences, right? And so we've all experienced different things. We have all received knowledge from different places. Like I have some knowledge from my grandfather. I have some knowledge from books I've read. I have some knowledge from intuitively, things I know, I don't even know how I know them. I have knowledge from my own experience. So we take all of this knowledge and we try to have an understanding about a certain thing, right? So prior to my experience, all I had was all I had, all those things prior to that. Now with my experience, remember I used the word recalibration. I had to take the new thing that I experienced, the new understanding that I had about light and love and so on, and even things that have come after it. And I have to take that in this present moment and package it as well as I can to give it to you, right? Now, in this moment, I am speaking with most clarity and honesty what I know about healers and about healing. That is what I'm doing. It's not to say that as I continue understanding, growing, learning, and evolving, that these words may not change. But in this present moment, what I'm doing is communicating as best as I can the truth that I have come to know. Not believe, know, right? We are all from the light. We are here to have individual experiences so that we can collect information from these experiences and use that information in order to continue expanding light, for light to continue expanding. The sun does it every day. The sun comes in, it's a little bit dark, and then it gets very bright by the end of the, by midday or whatever the case is. This is what we are doing. We start off, and then our point is to get as bright as possible. That is it. We are expanding light. So all of these experiences, we talk about God being all-knowing. How is God all-knowing? God is all-knowing because God is the consciousness within all of our individuality. The consciousness that we have is God. Do you understand what I'm saying? So through God being in all of us, God is knowing all. Do you understand what I'm saying? We are in a we're in a time and place right now. We're experiencing space and time and all of this stuff. In the reality of it all, this has all happened already. This is all done. This is all over. This is all finished. This is all finished. We are just experiencing a part of what has already happened. So in this experience, some of us were encoded to remember and to hold memory of the truth of what is, so that when we come into this place of forgetfulness, there will be some who can give that little bit of memory. Do you understand? To help other people wake up and remember who they are, so that we could continue this process of expanding and not just fall asleep in the darkness, but to shine, right? So you will have some people who will experience, like Elaine said, they will be able to have the spirit, we could use that word spirit, right? Since she mentioned it, rest on them for a bit, and they do healing and they do something. You will have other people that is their life. We have to acknowledge it doesn't have to be one or the other. These experiences happen. You have some people who, when they were little, they were able to do such and such. Then they go through another phase, and that's just not what they're doing. You have some people that it comes and goes. You have other people that is what they do. That is what they have. This is them. So it's not like, and sometimes we do this a lot when we have conversations. It's not about your point, my point. It's what is the truth? Let's listen, because you're giving information. Your information doesn't have to be wrong. My information doesn't have to be wrong. We've both experienced something here in this realm. If you experienced it and you're telling me the truth, then I have to take that in. That is a perspective. That is a part of it. And if I'm telling you, hey, this is what I've experienced, like as a little girl, before anybody said anything to me, I was able to know if I stand beside someone, I didn't even have to stand beside them. I could feel things in people that was off. And it was weird because at first I had an intense, it was like a magnet, like I had to touch people in a certain area. And it was weird because, people don't necessarily like to be touched. So I had to figure out ways around it. Oh, let me give you a hug and place my hand on the place. You understand? And just allow, it was like a feeling of love, I guess is what I would call it. It was a feeling of love just flowing through me to that area, not even knowing, and without their permission, but they wanted me to hug them. They accepted me. And so because they accepted that hug, I knew they were accepting love. And so I allowed for whatever that satisfying feeling, because that's all it felt to me. It felt satisfying to hug someone and to lay my hand on wherever it was that I was feeling needed me to touch it.
We have about 8 minutes left.
No
I want to get to some new folks.
I'm just gonna finish what I'm saying here, Dan, and then I'm good.
Yeah,
So,
Dan, what's the matter with you?
and so the point of what I'm saying is, like, some people come into this without even having anyone say anything to them, and that continues for their whole entire life. Like, until this day, I'm still doing this. But like I said, this experience, what it did was help me to understand something I couldn't see before, which were the codes in people. Do you get what I'm saying? And so now I could see when I lay my hand on somebody, or talk to them, I can see what's happening. It is them. It is them that they are the ones who are choosing to let guards down, choosing to trust, choosing to literally entrain and allow themselves to rise out of the darkness of whatever they were holding on to. And once they do that, and a lot of people, it's because in my presence, they feel like they could trust me. So all of a sudden, these guards go down and they do the work. It is not me doing the work. I'm telling you the honest truth. Me, I will speak for myself. It is not me doing the work. For whatever reason, someone feels aligned with me, and because of that alignment, they're able to trust and they're able to do the work. It is their faith. So that is my experience. Okay, guys? You don't have to take it. I could only speak what I know.
All right, Gino, go ahead.
I think Gino had something to say. Gino, I'm so sorry, but I'd like to finish thoughts.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to talk a little bit about what Emmeline asked, and then maybe respond to what Eileen said as well too, and follow up with your story. So I do research in consciousness, in phenomenology and neurophysiology.
Yes,
and so when we're born, there is no symbolic consciousness. And even, I know earlier there was a discussion of what is love. Arguably, so basically for Emmeline, and my experience is what has to happen is, these awakening experiences, they make you realize that the reality that you've been taught isn't the true reality, and that there are bigger forces at work. And, even Yandea, what you were just implying is that there is no free will. It's everything that's happening, arguably, is called, I think that's my interpretation of what you said, that it's already been done already.
Well, it's not that it's not free. It's that we are talking about space and time and outside of space and time. It's not that it's not free. It's that outside of space and time, it is finished. There is no time, so it's done. So when I say it's done, that's what I'm saying. Like, this has already been.
Generally speaking, what usually happens is, for each generation, is you're born, there is no symbolic consciousness. There's first part is you have to catch up to what the modern world is. And so, now you have to know about taxes, money, how to drive a car and everything. So there's a process of catching up. And then there's a process of letting go and connecting to the part of you that already knows. So something in you already knows. So what's going to happen tomorrow, a year from now, 10 years from now? Arguably, it's in this moment. Thought cannot access it, but intuition can. Something within you knows. And Emmeline, what you have to do, generally, what I'm experiencing is, normally what you'll do is you'll look at a situation and you'll segment it to what you understand things are happening. Like someone just drank some water there, or, things that are happening around you. And so energy, or your light, is a limited resource. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to segment things so I don't have to worry about, so I can focus all of my attention on whatever I'm attending to.
Yes. Gino, I have a question for you.
Wait, one second. Let me just finish this. At post-awakening, usually what happens is you can then start looking at things in a non-causal emergent way, because the only thing there really is that you know for certain is just the experience of this moment. And there's a difference between what's coming from thought versus your experience of the moment through the senses. Physiologically, they use the same hardware. And what you then have to do, arguably speaking, is you have to reframe what you perceive reality to be. So rather than slicing it up and looking at things as different things, can you just look at it as one thing? And then can you look at everything as the universe communicating to you from a grounded perspective? So you focus on one thing and how is the universe responding? And then metaphysically speaking, it's just looking at what's showing up in thought. How does your body feel? And how do things play out in space and time? And whenever you do something, any intention is an idea with an emotion. And somatically, fear, need, and desire feel very different from joy, gratitude, and wonder. And so where are you coming from? And then as you engage, how does the reality respond? And then metaphysically speaking, the mystical path is as you start doing things, and you have a role and you have a purpose. And when you start moving off track, the universe starts by just kind of like tapping you lightly. Maybe you drop your phone or something. And then if you don't listen, it's basically disease and all of this other stuff, especially, what happened with Yandea, which we heard, is it's the universe trying to get her attention, of which it did. And then it gave her an experience. And so part of this is you have to reframe what you perceive reality to be and be very clear. Are you acting from fear, need, desire, joy, gratitude? Where are you coming from? And then how is the reality responding? And so, yeah, it's just a reframing. And then that way you can maintain the stillness and then also engage the world and just listen, feel, and from a not knowing, a different form of knowing emerges. And then that's where these healing insights and all these other things arguably come from.
My reality is, Yandea, we need to talk and take my information down.
I got it.
That's my reality.
I got it, James.
Thank you. Thank you.
My question for you, Gino, was in your research, have you found people who have come into this reality with the knowing, right? So for example, I'm not the only one. I know other people who have this similar thing, but like when I was little, I had already memories of my past lives. I had knowledge of what I would do in this life. And so I don't consider my NDE as an awakening. It wasn't an awakening. What it was me remembering some, like I said, refining. You get what I'm saying? Because there are some people who they're going through their life and they have no idea or even an understanding about spirit. Like, I mean, this is why I literally help people when they're going through their awakenings. That's what I do. I do mentorship and stuff like that, right? So it's very different from a person who has come into this earth and has had knowledge of past lives, of this, of that. It is not coming from anything that has been taught. It's not being shaped by their environment. You get what I'm trying to say? And a lot of people, they're coming in with things being shaped by their environment. Then they have maybe sometimes traumatic experiences, or they do shrooms, or they have ayahuasca. Something happens, and then they experience something that shifts, right? Like I was not aware that the reality that I was living in was not what everybody else was living in. I was totally unaware until I was around age 10 that I realized, oh, people don't see these things. I had no idea that I was living in a reality that was just myself. You get what I'm saying? Until I got, literally it was just one day walking in the playground with children, and they were like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh, so when you have dreams, you don't do this and that? You don't go here? You don't just leave, go to this place? And they were like, what are you talking about? So this was just normal. It was a reality. It was life for me. So I want to know, if you've done in your research, how do you put that into there?
Yes, there are. And we have, some people are born with special abilities, but they get suppressed when they kind of buy into consensus reality.
Yes,
some people, when they pop, they develop special abilities, but their energy system isn't stable because you haven't fully let go. But if
Yes.
surreal shit happens and it doesn't phase you at all, you can develop these abilities in a grounded way. And we have a whole framework. I just threw a document into the group that you can
Okay.
take at.
I'll get that.
And
Thank
then
you
we
so
have a
much.
global network. There's a talk I give, and this is, I'll be seeing Dan in person tomorrow. There's a talk I give called Personal Development, Mental Health, and Human Potential. And so personal
Nice.
development is your developmental psychology and integral theory. Mental health is when things go awry. And if things go awry and you can somehow sort yourself out, which is usually what happens when people that kind of have these extreme situations, is
Yes.
they develop abilities that science can't explain. And I have a global network of them, and happy
That's great.
to connect towards that. And I'm actually creating a new master's degree. I'm a retired professor, but I'm getting back into it. I'm creating a new master's degree on applied consciousness stuff. And so, happy to go as deep as you would like into this. But I look at it from more of an Eastern philosophical perspective. And so from an Eastern, at a very, very deep level, and you could talk about past lives and we can have an understanding, but the challenge for true communication is we have to have a common semantic framework. And so you have had a unique experience, and we're interpreting it as story, but we haven't really had that experience. So we can just kind of imagine what that is. But at a very, very deep level, real quick, there's a difference between an experiential knowing and a conceptual knowing. And from an experiential knowing perspective, as soon as you die physically, arguably from an experiential knowing perspective, although you'll say otherwise, Yandea, I understand, but me, New York, the whole universe kind of disappears from an experiential knowing perspective. I know you've had experiences otherwise, but generally speaking, if you look at modern science and everything, that's kind of what it's saying. And from an Eastern philosophical perspective, and you're getting to this in terms of love, God is love, but you are also love, and everything is love, as you point out too, is that from that perspective at a very deep level, we're just characters in your dream. This is all space and time is your dream at a very deep level. At the surface level, yes, there's Gaza that's happening, there's China and everything, and everything, and there's consensus reality and everything, including the astral plane and all this other stuff. But right now, in the experience of this moment, there's just the experience of this moment. And so I have a visitor that just showed up. Her name is Milani. And so right now, this is literally just happening right now. And for you and for wherever you go, it's always just the experience of this moment. Wherever you go, whatever you do, it's just the experience of this moment. And so when I'm speaking, it's my intention. When you nod your head, it's your intention. All of this other stuff that seems to happen, whose intention is it? And how and why is it happening now? And if you start exploring this, not only literally, but then also mythically in a non-causal emergent way, then your whole relationship with reality and the universe changes. And then you can then function and operate in consensus reality, and you can do really well. Arguably, if you live your deepest truth, health, sustenance, and happiness are byproducts. The universe is always
That's right.
That's help you as long as you're living your deepest truth. So if you and so basically it's just learning to listen, learning to feel, and then just seeing where it takes you.